Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. Assembly of First Nations National Chief Cindy Woodhouse Nepinak was in Nova Scotia today as part of her national dialogue with chiefs across Canada to discuss long-term child and family welfare reform. APTN's Angel Moore met up with National Chief Woodhouse Nepinak and has this report.
I'm here at the Millbrook First Nation, where National Chief Cindy Woodhouse Nepinak has met with the Nova Scotia chiefs to discuss the long-term reform of child and family services.
It's a broken system, and we have to find a way to stop the bleeding. We have to find a way to help these families and move towards a prevention model rather than an apprehension model.
The $47.8 billion agreement is to provide funding for long-term reform of child and family services. Generally, the Assembly of First Nations takes a 15% administration fee. The National Chief said not this time.
The $47.8 billion, AFN will not administer, AFN will not take anything from it. That's to go to First Nations people if they so choose to accept the deal in September or thereafter.
Woodhouse Nepinak wanted to be clear. All of the funds will be going to First Nations.
Look, the AFN will not be controlling the money. I want to make that very clear. Of course, there'll be, an oversight committee. There'll be, everybody will be working together on that. But I think that at the end of the day, send it to First Nations.
A concern is a final agreement does not allow for outside inspection into the management of child and family services. Woodhouse Nepinak is confident that will not be an issue.
I think First Nations are very accountable to their citizens, and First Nations are capable of running their own affairs.
One First Nation says the AFN does not represent them on the settlement. Saddle Lake First Nation in Alberta passed a resolution that the AFN should not be negotiating on their behalf. The National Chief says the AFN is following a mandate.
Absolutely, we always respect First Nations, but of course we've been mandated by chiefs in assembly to get this resolution on the floor to make sure that there's a committed amount of money to First Nations people.
Another topic of discussion is the federal government is capping the funds to search for unmarked graves. The National Chief says this is not reconciliation.
That funding shouldn't be cut. And we need to, the minister heard it loud and clear. We were with survivors last week, and we had pressured the minister there. I know it was a tough meeting, and we're going to continue to have those tough meetings if this is the way that our survivors and the dark history of this country is going to be treated.
Angel Moore, APTN National News, Millbrook First Nation.
Thanks, Angel. The Government of Canada has announced some financial support for an Indigenous cultural centre in Sault Ste. Marie. The centre will be located at Algoma University, which is the site of the former Shinwalk Residential School. APTN's Mike McDonald has that story.
Canada's Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, Yara Sachs, announced a $5 million contribution toward construction of the Makwa-Wakaigan Cultural Centre. Among other things, the 3-floor facility will include cultural and ceremonial spaces, academic learning, and teaching spaces.
Our Shinwalk Residential School archival staff will be working in there. The tours are all done by Anishinaabe tour guides. So the truth walks that many of our community, we have about 35,000 expected to be touring the Shinwalk exhibit annually.
It's a great announcement, and we look forward to still being a partner with Algoma U.
As part of her visit, Minister Sachs was taken on a tour of the Shinwalk Residential School exhibit. The design of the Makwa-Wakaigan facility was developed in partnership with the Children of Shinwalk Alumni Association, which is composed of residential school survivors and their families. Construction of the facility has been delayed in part due to the site search underway at Algoma University for unmarked graves. Chief McCoy is satisfied with the ongoing dialogue between the university and the affected communities.
I'm very happy with the consultation along the way because of the sensitivity of the area. being the former Shingwalk Residential School.
The search is being led by the Children of Shingwalk Alumni Association, and of course they're doing a lot of consultation with the 86 communities that were impacted by the residential school experience here. So we take our lead from them.
The Makwa-Wakaigan project is expected to be built sometime in 2026. It will also serve as the home of the Mental Health and Addictions Research and Training Institute, which is a collaboration between Algoma U and the Northern Ontario School of Medicine. Mike McDonald, APTN National News, Sault Ste. Marie.
Thanks, Mike. Canada Initiative Advancing Indigenous Youth Mental Health Care is getting a $1.45 million boost from the Canadian Institutes of Health Research. The 5-year project is called the Access Open Minds Indigenous Youth Mental Health and Wellness Network. It's co-led by McGill psychiatry professor Dr. Srividya Iyer and Lakehead psychology professor Dr. Christopher Mushquash. It aims to make culturally affirming mental health services more accessible to Indigenous youth. The researchers are looking at ways to incorporate Indigenous knowledge and practices like land-based healing and access to elders in the mental health sector. Mushquash explains how youth perspectives will guide the initiative.
We have a good sense of difficulties that young people are experiencing as a consequence of things like poverty, like the general experience of colonization and colonialism and many of the policies that have contributed to those disparities. And so one of the nice things about this network is that it's, the questions are driven by young people, not only in terms of where are the difficulties and what supports are needed, but also where are the capacities and where are the strengths and what's going well and how do we build upon those things. And
it's been 10 years since the murder of 15-year-old Tina Fontaine while she was under the care of Child and Family Services. Friends, family, and supporters came together for a candlelight vigil in her honor on Saturday, the 10th anniversary of when it's believed she died. The vigil took place at the Alexander Docks along the Red River, close to where Fontaine's body was found on August 17, 2014. Her body had been wrapped in a duvet covered with rocks, weighing her down. The only man charged in her murder was found not guilty by a jury in 2018 and died earlier this year. The outcry from Tina's tragic death helped spark the federal government's national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Her younger brother, Elroy, was only 8 years old when Tina died.
I think about her every day. I struggle a lot with her not being here. And so days go by really long for me because it's hard to do life without my older sister. When I was younger, I didn't understand why her face was everywhere, because I didn't understand. I was only 8 when everything happened. Now that I get older, it's sad, but I'm glad it started a movement. I'm glad it's opened people's eyes and everything, and that people are coming to their senses now.
A suspect in a deadly shooting east of Calgary that sparked a province-wide manhunt has been arrested. 35-year-old Arthur Wayne Penner from Edmonton is charged with first-degree murder and attempted murder. A second suspect is still at large, but has now been identified. 28-year-old Elijah Blake Strawberry is wanted for murder, and he's considered armed and dangerous. He's wanted in relation to the killing of Rocky View County employee Colin Huff. Police say the victim stopped to offer help when he saw the suspect's stolen truck on fire, not knowing it had been deliberately torched. RCMP believe the suspects were trying to carjack another vehicle when a second person was shot. The suspects then made off in Huff's work truck.
Immediate actions were taken to set up surveillance on Penner and liaise with the Alberta Crown prosecutors to obtain charge approval. Once the approval was received, RCMP, with assistance of the Edmonton Police Service, safely arrested Penner in Edmonton.
Arthur Wayne Penner is set to appear in court on Thursday. 6 First Nations in Northern Ontario are taking the province to court, challenging the Ontario Mining Act. They say many First Nations have seen their territory flooded with newly registered mining claims. The province's Mining Act allows for prospectors to register a claim online from anywhere in the world. The court challenge was launched by the chiefs of Apatippi, Anishinaabeg Nation, Arrowland First Nation, Attawapiskat First Nation, Fort Albany First Nation, Ganoogaming First Nation, and Kitchener-Kusib Aninawug. They say the Mining Act is an unconstitutional violation of their treaty rights and their charter equality rights. The application is seeking declarations that certain provisions of the Mining Act are unconstitutional and orders that they may be struck and replaced.
We never surrendered our ancestral lands in the first place. Our people have been stewards of these lands for countless generations, and we assert our right to ultimate decision-making power over our territory. This is not just a legal position. It is our sacred duty to protect the land as entrusted us by our ancestors.
Don't Even is a new coming-of-age comedy set to premiere later this month. We'll speak with the creator and showrunner after the break. Welcome back. The Nisitchawaysick Cree Nation in northern Manitoba announced this afternoon that it will be partially evacuating those most at risk due to ongoing smoke from nearby forest fires. The First Nation lists those with underlying health conditions and newborn babies as priority one, and how the current air quality could make their conditions worse. Indigenous Services Canada and the Red Cross are assisting with moving the evacuees to Brandon, Manitoba. No word yet on how many are being evacuated and when they'll be able to return home. Meanwhile, thousands of people driven out of Jasper 3 weeks ago by a raging wildfire can finally make their way back home Friday.
We want to get open as soon as possible, and we also have 60 people working for us, and we want to get them back to work too.
Evacuees can start returning Friday at 7 a.m. when the highway into the national park opens for the day, but what they return to may not be what they left behind. The wildfire destroyed a third of the buildings. Hundreds of homes on the west side are damaged or gone. Power, wastewater, and natural gas have been restored in most areas. An Indigenous coming-of-age comedy called Don't Even is set to premiere later this month. The series follows two best friends in Winnipeg in the late 1990s as they grapple with their uncertain future in the summer after their final high school year. It debuts on Crave on August 23rd and will air on APTN later in the year. Amber Sequan Daniels is its creator and showrunner. We spoke with her earlier. Amber, thanks so much for joining us, and congrats on the new show.
Thank you.
What can people expect from Don't Even?
I think people can expect some big comedy, coming to you straight from Winnipeg, some hometown comedy.
How did the idea for the show come about?
I was really inspired. I grew up in the 90s, so I was really inspired by the coming-of-age teen movies that they had at the time. So I watched a lot of these, like Can't Hardly Wait, these kind of Empire Records, and they had this moment with really great 90s teen movies, and I just wanted to sort of update that and make it something that I could relate a little bit more to.
Awesome. I also grew up during that time, so I'm super excited that this takes place in the 90s. Don't Even is not your only comedy, of course, that's airing on Crave and APTN. Looks like season 3 of Acting Good is coming?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You can expect more good times from the folks at Grouse Lake.
There's a lot of Indigenous talent working on both shows, in front of the camera and behind the scenes. How would you describe the current state for Indigenous peoples working in the film and television industry?
I mean, I think it's a really, really good time. I think in particular for comedy, like the fact that we even have, you know, 2 Indigenous comedies, like that's like, to me in the mainstream, that's not something that you get to see very often. I think it's a really good time, yeah, particularly for comedy.
When it comes to Don't Even, what are you hoping the audience takes away? The goal of Don't Even really was, I wanted to make a comedy that had layers and depth. So what I really hope is that people get to see these characters in like a, you know, with the complexity and a really interesting comedy lens through that. So that's what I hope. I understand there'll be 6 episodes, but is this a one-off or something that there's the possibility of returning to down the road?
I hope there's more. I hope that we've set up characters that you want to follow for years and years and years. So 6 episodes, not a ton. So you get to meet these really wacky, great, amazing characters. Hope we fall in love with them, and I hope we get to follow their journey and get to know them better.
Not that you don't have a lot going on already. Don't Even set to premiere August 23rd. And as we said, season 3 of Acting Good is on the way. But any other projects out there that you're hoping to be bringing to the screen?
I think I could talk about it. I'm working on a comedy that's based on the Snide-Nosed Res Kids right now. So I'm very, very excited. That's a project we're currently writing.
And we're going to be talking to them momentarily here. Amber, again, congrats. Thanks for talking to us today. We're all really excited for the show and can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much.
And the first 2 episodes of Don't Even drop in 10 days. Looking forward to that. You can watch that interview with Snide-Nosed Res Kids over on our website, aptnnews.ca. A new group is bringing food and kindness to people in need of both in downtown Winnipeg. That story and more still to come. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Dorothy shared this great photo of the world's largest tomahawk located in Cutknife, Saskatchewan during her camping trip. Great picture. Thanks, Dorothy. You can email your photos to share@aptn.ca and you could be featured as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 24 with showers for Halifax and Fredericton. Smoky and 27 in Kuujjuaq, 24 in Nain. Showers in 29 in Montreal and Val-d'Or. Sun's out in 28 in Sault Ste. Marie. Showers in 28 in North Bay. 27 under sunny skies in Thunder Bay. 28 in Sioux Lookout. In northern Manitoba, 29 in God's Lake. Rain and 25 in Norway House. Showers in 28 for Winnipeg. Rain and 24 in Dauphin. 29 with rain in Regina. Showers in 27 in Saskatoon. 26 with rain in Meadow Lake and Buffalo Narrows. A soggy day across northern Alberta. Showers in 24 in High Level and Fort Chipewyan. 26 in Edmonton. Sunny and 28 for Lethbridge. 23 in Vancouver. Showers and 30 in Kamloops. Sunny and 24 in Prince George. 23 and sunny skies in Smithers. 19 in Old Crow. Showers and 13 for Whitehorse. Rain and 20 in Yellowknife, smoky and 21 for Wrigley. 12 with rain in Sax Harbor, sunny and 19 in Pawlatuck. 14 with showers in Chesterfield, smoky and 11 in Arviat. Plus 1 in Resolute, 13 in Joe Haven. A community walk founded by a former youth in care is spreading kindness and meals throughout downtown Winnipeg. Sav Jonesa has more.
On Friday evenings, Josh Nepinak spends his time in downtown Winnipeg hoping to fill the empty stomachs of anyone he comes across. Though being a father and a university student keeps him busy, it's an important use of time for the 24-year-old former youth in care.
I realized, after aging out, that it would require a lot of effort for myself to, break. Even the statistics of like after your youth age is out of care, of like who they're meant to be.
Nepinak started Wijishin Jiwajinin Community Walk this summer. The name is Anishinaabe for Help Me, Help You. With the help of more than a dozen volunteers, the walk hands out hundreds of water bottles and meals while picking up any trash or used needles they find.
Or we usually pick up 3 to 4, but today is more of a day to pick up the sharps. We have about 15 in here.
Wijishin Jiwajinin offers help to anyone who needs it, but Nepinak shares a common experience with those who are unhoused. According to the 2022 Street Census report by End Homelessness, half of the unhoused people in Winnipeg surveyed say they once spent time in the care of child and family services. Of those, 54% first experienced homelessness by the age 18 or earlier.
It just goes to show like just how broken the system is, Like it took, like it was last year that the Families Department implemented support up to 26 years old, and before that, like youth, after turning 18, a youth only had 36 months or 3 years to, figure out their course in life and sort of go there.
The walk is supported by organizations like Community Helpers Unite, as well as The Link, where he says Youth in Care make sandwiches for the initiative. Volunteer and activist Gerald McIver inspired Nepinak to start the walk.
I've been handing out water and sandwiches and clothing to the homeless downtown Winnipeg for the last 4 or 5 years. If you want to see reconciliation in Canada, start reconciling with the homeless.
McIver says the people they help tell them it's nice to know someone cares.
A lot of mainstream colonial society, they only see the dirty Indian, the drunken Indian, the addicted Indian, but nobody sees the human being with a story of how they got there, why they're there. I encourage all people of all races, help the less fortunate out here, because you don't know, with the way the world is, you don't know when you're going to be homeless. You don't know. Some of them are just one paycheck away from it.
Having now completed their 9th walk so far, Nepinak says the need to keep going is obvious.
And I think that this walk is just one answer to a prayer from a relative or just a group of relatives for, change to come to them, and somebody to not give a hand out, but a hand up to them. I don't believe that this walk will necessarily, fix their lives, but at least, somebody saw them and somebody noticed, and somebody's doing something about it.
Wijishin Jiwajinin will continue throughout the winter and diversify their offerings with clothing drives. Check out their social media for more information on how to help out. Sav Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Great work, Josh and Gerald. Much needed initiative that is. Well, that is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. You can find much more on our website, aptnnews.ca. Be sure to join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when Creason will have your first look at the day's news. I'm Dennis Ward, Marcy McGuitch. Thanks for being with us. Stick around for an encore presentation of Face to Face and our conversation with Anishinaabe lawyer Sarah Mainville. That's coming up next. Have a great night.